Hi everyone, and today this is Tony Brancatello. Today we're going to do something a bit different. I have recorded chapter 3, and so you can have the whole chapter. I know it's going to be very long, this one, so I think there's about 35, 34 slides. So I'm going to go through it. I will tape it. It's videotaped here, and you'll have access to it. In this way, it'll free you out a little bit and give you the opportunity to look at the whole chapter and have a better understanding of the subject matter. And the subject matter, as you can see in front of you, is ethics, the foundation for relationships that create value. I was certainly going to change this around and give you some more information that I had built from the other class, but based upon what I see, what the quiz and questions, it's a lot easier for myself, and I think for you to understand it, if we do this way. So here we go. So the objectives explain the importance of developing a relationship strategy, describe issues that challenge the ethical decision making of salespeople, and describe the factors that influence the ethical conduct of salespeople. Like I said, there's a lot of text in this PowerPoint, so I would like you to read it on your own. I will not read everything or else I will lose my voice, but you will have it so you could take a look at it and have a better understanding of terminologies and certain definitions. Here we go. All right, so first thing, again, you can stop this anytime and you can take a look at it and you can repeat it, review it also as many times as you would like. That'd be cool. So developing a relationship strategy for partnering style selling. Emotional intelligence. This is the capacity for recognizing our own feelings and those of others and putting them aside. So this really is motivating ourselves and for managing emotions effectively in ourselves and our relationships. So the greater predictor of success than IQ is emotional intelligence. So the three major relationship challenges that we always have in sales is to build new relationships, certainly, is to transform a relationship from the personal level to the business level, or as I mentioned to you the other class, there's suspects, prospects, and customers. What this means also is transforming relationships from personal level, meaning could also mean from prospects to customers. And also the management of the relationships afterwards. How do you keep the customers once you've got them? So this is really well done. This is so true. I lived through this for 25 years. These are really the 3 steps for style selling. Let's continue. So temptation to maximize short-term gains, motivated by offers from customers, competitors and stuff like that, or company personnel. Here's where you don't get customers that will last a very long time with you if you're just looking for short-term gains. In sales today, this is not what you want to do. You want to do the opposite. So sometimes, as tempting as it is to gain something short-term, it's always good to go for a long run. So this could lead to a destructive of long-term relationships and also your job. This is not selling. So if you look at this little pyramid that you got here, you got the presentation strategy at the top, a product strategy and customer strategy, a relationship strategy, and the ethics is, as you can see it here, which is well done, I must say. The foundation is ethics for partnering style interactions that create value. So this is where you want to always be ethical, business ethics, personal ethics, everything that you have. Your values have to stand up above everything else. You want to be a salesperson for a very long time, not just for the short term. So certain factors that influence the ethical decisions made by salespeople. You have here laws and contracts and agreements. Certainly this plays a huge part, right? So role model provided by top management, company policies you have to respect, role model provided by the sales manager who shows you the way and leads you, shows you leadership, I should say, your own personal values as a salesperson, and also ethical conduct of a sales person in general. So if you look at what influences in a global economy and in today's world, the way we're going, certainly sales is going to be even more important when we come out of this pandemic and survive it. Hopefully everything will be fine in very soon, not tomorrow, but for sure very soon. And there's also the one big aspect is cultural issues. The sum total of beliefs and values is very important. There is the legal issues. Canadian and U.S. governments have enacted legislation that prohibits companies from using bribes or kickbacks. In the olden days, they used to be able to give some money to a radio personality so they could sell them their product or talk about their product. A little bit like an Instagram today, where someone takes a picture and holds up a product. That is considered to be illegal now. But that, in the olden days, used to do it on the radio. It used to be called payola. A lot of people went to jail for payola. So influence of sales management, also the organization's moral tone, what's their policy, how do they see their company, what's their future of their company, is it short term or is it long term? This is when you start in sales, I can tell you, the sales manager leads the way in how you see things further on, and in a good way, or sometimes, unfortunately, in not such a good way. So policies and practices are very important. Code of conduct from the company, integrity, the focus, and the values that the company brings. Certainly, if you start with companies, they will make you sign an agreement that you need to follow protocol and you need to follow the code of business for that company. Reciprocity, this is a mutual exchange of benefits. This is when some people will give you something. They might give you, let's say one of your customers has a certain product. It could be anything. They would give you that product if you give them a better price, let's say, or a better delivery. This is not a good thing. So reciprocity and bribery, an attempt to influence the person receiving the gift. My good old days, unfortunately, now if you want to call that bribery or not, but certainly it seemed that way where you get a gift. So, you know, like gift giving guidelines plays a big part. A lot of companies in the olden days would, at Christmas, I would have to give them the sales or the buyer a whole bunch of gifts for them to be bribed, sort of. So they would bribe me actually by me giving them gifts. So then the next year they would still buy from me. So this is a very important aspect. Do not give gifts before doing business with a customer. Unfortunately, that's the way it used to be. It is not now anymore. A lot of companies will not accept any kinds of gifts for buyers. Also, entertainment. It used to be a standard to take out customers for entertainment, for golf, for fishing trips, for night outs, drinking or whatever. That used to be the thing. But this also now is not called for anymore, but it's still being done. Also, slander, this unfair and untrue oral statements about a competitor. This is one of the first rules I learned when I was in sales, was never to talk bad about the competition, as much as it's so tempting. Even if the buyer starts to tell you, oh, I'm having so much trouble with this supplier, blah, 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 and it's easy for you to turn on them. But you should not. You should stay away from that because it's very tempting to do that, and it's not fair. So business libel, unfair and untrue written statements. Libel is written statements about a competitor. This, in today's world, is even easier with social media and with emails. That's one thing you need to always avoid. Never, ever write down something you don't want to stick with you for the rest of your life. Because when you write emails, they will never, ever go away. If you ever write something in social media, it will never, ever disappear. Product disparagement, false or deceptive comparisons or distort claims about a competitor, right? This you should not do. And also, like I just mentioned about the use of the internet, you have to be very careful. The effectiveness of company policies as a deterrent to unethical behaviors depends on the firm's attitude, absolutely, and the policies that influence personal selling certainly need the support of the entire sales staff. So this is very important to follow the company policies. Influence of the sales manager, like I mentioned before, plays a big part. They do mirror the company, and we need to mirror them. And unfortunately, if they are not ethical in their ways, and it's very easy for them not to be ethical in their ways, we will follow them, and we will certainly, as sales associates or sales representatives, go down the wrong path, right? We have to understand what our values are, and our attitudes lead to behavior, right? So values, your deep personal beliefs and preferences that influence your behavior, and this is really important when it comes to sales. Once you cross the line, if you lose your attitude, is you get upset, or you show them your temper, or you don't call them back, you become very passive aggressive. Once they've seen this, you can't go back. That's the unfortunate part. This is why it's so very difficult to work in sales, because once you cross the line, this is never forgotten by anybody that's seen you act or your attitude or your behavior in a very bad way. It never goes away. So, values conflict. If you view employers' instructions or influence as improper, you ignore the influence of your values and engage in unethical behavior, right? So this is where you have an issue where your employer leads you one way, like I said before, and your values tell you not to do that. Then you need to make a decision if you want to stay working for that company and act unethically against your values, or do you want to change and go work for a different company. So this is very important, right? So they remember that all key elements, personnel and policies are influenced, right? So role model provided by top management, company policies, role model provided by sales manager, personal values of a salesperson, and your ethical conduct, which is still your foundation when it comes to being a sales associate or a sales representative. Influences of laws and contracts. Yes, when you write certain agreements with companies, certain laws that you have to follow, certain statutes, right? Specific obligations that you have to follow. The Competition Act is a very big one, very important one, and you have to follow that. Certainly you can't fix prices, you can't discriminate, and you can't say one thing and do another. If you have any questions, like I said, I will give you this beforehand. This is called Flipping the Classroom. You'll have this beforehand, and you can take a look at that if you have any questions. And if there's certain terminology that you don't understand that you want me to discuss, please write down the questions and we'll come back to them. Cooling off laws, provincial and territorial laws that give customers an opportunity to reconsider a buying decision made under a salesperson's persuasive influence. Here again, we have certain acts. In Quebec, the Consumer Protection Act, right? This has happened to me. It happened to a lot of customers, or before that I've heard, where if you bought a car, like I tried to buy a car once, and I was influenced or persuasive by the salesman or the car salesman, and then afterwards I had given them a deposit. And I changed my mind. They had to give me my money back. So this has never happened to me in my work, but certainly if you have unethical ways, certainly the buyer can change their mind and avoid a contract. Speaking of contracts, a contract is oral or written. Someone shakes your hand, which you'll see now that this is going to change forever. No one's ever going to shake anybody else's hands anymore. So here you can have anything that's written down, a check, notation, word of mouth, all of these things that you wrote down certainly looks and feels like a contract that are very important, that you have to have as many details as possible on a contract. So building trust, meaning of trust, which is integrity, ability, and character, changes the way the type of sale. transactional sales, as we saw before, with the product, consultative with the salesperson, and strategic alliance selling with the salesperson as it reflects the trust with the institution or the company. So this is all about building trust with a buyer and another company. Certainly you do want to be showing your integrity and your character, your true character and your attitude. So let's keep going. Business ethics comprise principles and standards that guide behavior in the world of business. Again, ethics is also what you do when someone is not looking. When someone is not looking, how do you behave? And this is the same thing in business. Because sometimes if you think you can get away with something by giving a higher price or highballing, as we say, certainly this could play a part or come back to haunt you later on. There is certain conducts or certain institutes that have codes of ethics that you can take a look at in the CPSA. This is the Certified Sales Professional, and I used to be part of this a long time ago, and there is a whole bunch of information on that website and that you can take a look at to get more information about ethics in the workplace, especially in sales. So the influence of character and ethical decision making, the character itself, the integrity, strong influence relationships, right? So personal standards include honesty, integrity. This is based on internal values and resulting judgments you make about your ethical decisions, reflect your strength, your character strength, and will reflect upon you for the rest of your life. It will not go away. It's a small world out there when it comes to sales representatives, and no matter what products you sell, you will be remembered, and your character will also be remembered, and your integrity, or if you don't have any integrity, right? This is a valuable character trait. I usually give a course sometimes just on this, the 7 habits of highly effective people. We're not going to do that now, but this is a good book, and it's a good, I think it's on YouTube too, if I'm not mistaken. Talks about commitments, trust, and also to preconditioning to partnering with companies. So there's the erosion of character on ethical decision making. Now today, as they call it, the new economy. And again, going forward, it's going to be even newer. We don't even know what it's going to look like, but it's going to change enormously in about 2-3 months when it comes to the economy and how it's looked upon. Right now, the most important people in our world are health and drivers, truck drivers. And imagine that. We would never have thought that before, the value that they bring to the world today. As much as we thought doctors are always very important in our lives, but certainly not as much as they are today, especially if they are influenced or tragically taken from us through this pandemic. So there's a lot of erosion in this, right? And our world, you can see it today. So some half-truths that influence the erosion of moral character. We are only in it for ourselves. Our neighbors down south, certainly seems to be their motto over and over again, and it's only going to get more desperate and more desperate in a few weeks to go. And you're going to see a lot more erosion, and ethics go out the window, and the decisions that companies will be making will be influenced by certain people, and this is really, really horrible. And a lot of people will lose their lives because of this, and there's nothing we can do about it. So many firms struggle to align their values, ethics, and principles with the expectations of their salespeople. Again, like I said, we see now a true color of a lot of companies in the next couple of months if they're selling specific products that are needed, like masks. Like if you look at a company like 3M today, did come up and made some statements about not wanting to sell any more masks to Canada and just keeping all their masks for the US. This is true or not, I'm not sure, but if this is true, certainly it dissolves, erodes all the ethics of this company. And 3M certainly will be blacklisted in Canada if they decide not to sell us any more masks. So where is their moral behavior in all of this? So let's keep going. One last thing, developing a personal code of ethics that adds value. Your general guideline, relationships always comes first, tasks come second. Be honest with yourself and with others as much as possible. If you can't step away and do something else, don't do that job. Personal selling must be viewed as an exchange of value. This again is the foundation of sales. Great. So that's it. And we'll talk later. Please round up your questions and we'll discuss this later on in class. Thank you.